Welcome to the SuperNova podcast. Today, my name is Jannes. I will be your host, and I'm joined this session by Julien from Adyen. Julien, welcome.
Thank you for welcoming us today.
Okay. Maybe for our viewers, explain who you are and what Adyen is like in a few sentences.
So my name is Julien Marlier, and I'm in charge of the Benelux region for Adyen. I joined the company a bit more than 12 years ago. Next to that, I'm in the early 40s. I have 3 boys at home.
Okay.
I'm married.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it.
Now we know who we're talking to. I have to confess, I'm not entirely sure what Adyen does or how you guys work. So maybe if you had to explain it to a 10-year-old or someone who's not really in the know, how would you describe Adyen?
Actually, it's interesting because I have 2 boys around 10 at home, and this question came up very recently in 2 occasions. One last week, and the other one was a couple of months ago, maybe. The first one I can maybe explain. My kids are now playing a bit with games, and so I bought a Switch game for one of them. It was pretty expensive, and a couple of days later, he's coming back to me and saying, "Hey, it's finished already." I'm like, "What?" And so I tell him, "Hey, look, you know what we're gonna do? I have also a PlayStation." I said, "Hey, you know, on PlayStation they have this PlayStation Premium, I think." I said, If you pay a subscription there, you have access to a lot of games, etc." And so I said, "Okay, let's take that." And this has happened to be one of our customers, actually both Nintendo and PlayStation.
Cool.
And so I explained to him, this is what we do and what I do as in my professional life. So what we do when we pay, for example, on PlayStation, we make sure that Adyen, on behalf of PlayStation, we secure your or my details to go to the bank and ask, "Hey, can we authorize this payment?" The bank authorize, and Adyen is like the messenger, I would say, between merchants and banks to make sure that that everything is secure and that the money then goes from the bank to the merchant bank account. So that was an example here for more online. And actually, last week I had to bring my kids to they go to the Scouts, and I had to bring them to like a whole weekend thing. And actually, I didn't read the emails properly, and I found out that they had to eat before to arrive there on the Friday evening. And so then I said, "Okay, let's go to the Quick." And so on the way there, we went to the drive-in, and there is the same thing. So we were at the driving, and then at some point they ask you, "Hey, can you pay?" And there you have this terminal, and you tap, or you insert your card, or you tap to pay on the terminal. And Adyen is providing everything there, so the terminal, but then we do the exact same thing that for online. We go to the bank as to authorize, and we make sure that Quick receives the money. And
so you're an intermediary between the guys who are paying and the banks.
Yeah, basically. So merchants are not allowed to get access to your payment data. And so basically our job is to make sure that on their behalf that we secure all this data, to make sure that you pay securely. And also it's more than that. I'm trying to explain that as a
10-year-old, because I'm already thinking that's more complex than I was aware the process was. For me, it's I tap my card and money goes from my account. So
no, that's way more complex than that behind the scene, and we try to make that simple. And also there is a lot of things, and we have people on stage explaining that very well today. But the importance is also to make sure that for you as a consumer that it's easy and it goes without friction. You don't want to have to wait, or that you don't want to have your payment fail if you think everything is fine. So that's what we are building for these merchants, to make sure that their customer gets a great experience when they pay.
I imagine it makes it hard, because when you guys do your job well, no one knows you're there. Or at least the customers.
Yeah,
that's challenge.
But actually, that's the goal. If you look at how payments have been evolving, like 20 years ago, when you would pay online, you would see a lot of redirects to external page. All of a sudden, the merchant would invest a lot of money in a beautiful website, and then you will end up on the really ugly page to pay. It wasn't
sketchy even.
yeah, it was a bit sketchy. It didn't give a great feeling, and so our role is actually to make the experience better. And often, if we're transparent and if people don't see us, that means we do a great job.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. I read that you were employee number 1 for Adyen in Belgium back in 2015.
Yeah,
That's
correct.
true.
Yeah.
What did the office and the working situation look like?
Yeah, the office was basically my home. No, but for 1 or 2 years, I was alone in Belgium. But the good thing is, the company has been created in Amsterdam, so it's not that far away. So I used to do a lot of travel because I think when you are building a local office. What's very important is to understand, what is the culture of the company? What is it that we want to replicate in the satellites office? So I would spend a lot of time in Amsterdam, also not to feel alone, because sometimes it's it's great to work from home, but it's great to see actually your colleagues, etc. So no, I would spend a lot of time in Amsterdam back and forth, but it was a really fun period because when you enter a market, I mean, everything has to be built, and it's something I enjoy very much. Basically.
Okay, cool. And entering a market, like we Belgians love our bankcontact. We have more bankcontact cards than citizens in Belgium.
Yeah.
How do you compare? How do you enter a market like that? How do you compare to bankcontact, and do you know why we're so attached to that?
Yeah. So maybe a couple of things here. So Bankcontact is one of our partners, and it's funny, and like you say, people in Belgium they love their Bankcontact. Actually, they misuse the name all the time. People, but also the press, because if you want to withdraw money at the bank, you will say, "I'm going to the Bankcontact." It's not the Bankcontact. It's basically an ATM machine, so where you will go and get money. And Bankcontact is, you can compare this as Visa, MasterCard, basically. It's a route to get to the bank to get the payment authorized, basically. And it's interesting because I have actually a good example. Also, a couple of weeks ago, there is a food retailer. I would maybe not mention the name in my village, and the person that was in front of me at the cash register, at some point the cashier is asking, "Hey, how do you want to pay?" And then he says, "Yeah, with Bankcontact." And then I see that the cashier, which was a student, it was a Sunday, is trying he's pressing on something, and then the terminal says, "Okay, just do the payment now." And I see the person is trying to pay with his watch via Apple Pay. And then the payment fails. And then the person doesn't understand, and he's asking, "Hey, can you try again? Because it should be fine." He's trying again, it fails. And then I see the person is a bit embarrassed. He's trying to reach his pocket maybe to grab a card. Then I ask the student, "Hey, what do you see on your screen?" And then he says, "Yeah, Bankcontact." But I say, "What else?" And he says, "Visa, MasterCard, Malte checks." And then he says, I said, "Do you have Apple Pay?" He says, "Yes." I said, "Click on Apple Pay."
Okay.
And then he clicked on Apple Pay, he tried again, and that worked.
And he was very thankful.
And why was it? So what I want to explain by that is that if you look at your cards in your wallet, most probably you will see that 2 logos on it. You will see Bankcontact, and you will see also Visa or MasterCard debit. And actually, if you look at Apple Pay, lots of banks are using the Visa rails and not the Bankcontact rails, and so that's why it wasn't working in that case. But that's why it's. But for the person that puts his Bankcontact card in the wallet, it feels like Bankcontact. But so indeed, that's a very and people feel it's something we know, and people when you pay, you want to pay with something you feel at ease with.
Okay. Interesting. A very good example that makes me understand the difference better. There's maybe something else, but you recently talked about tap to pay on your phone, how it's like pushing the boundaries of traditional shopping. Are we moving toward a world where cash registers are just completely disappearing?
I'm always careful with like how is going the future look like.
You on this.
No, but what we see some trends, of course, and I would say things started really to change. We tend to forget, but a couple of years ago we were in the middle of COVID, and we've seen like a lot of things changing there in terms of how people would behave with payments. If you remember, 5 years ago, everyone would put the card in terminal, touch the terminal. If you see now, a lot of people are trying to avoid. So tap to pay is a good answer to their contactless as well. And so, we see trends moving towards that direction. And also, it's important to understand that from a shopper perspective, we used to think in silos. There was online experience before, then there used to be in store. And if you look at most of the brands now, you can do both. And the customer at the end doesn't really matter if he wants to pay online or in store. He just wants to buy from your brand, and your role as a brand is to make sure that he gets the best experience, so that he wants to come back, basically. And so that's why we see a lot of things moving. And a good example that we recently launched is, if you think about Uber, for instance, which is like a pure, I would say, digital solution with online mobile payments. Now they are launching in the US. If you go out from certain airports, they have these screens, which are like kiosks, where you can order a Uber and pay on the terminal linked to that. So you see, it's
like in McDonald's, the ordering kiosk.
Yeah, that's the exact same thing. So you're at the airport, and instead of having the app, you can just order your taxi. Say, okay, I need to go there, and that's all. And so you see the boundaries. Is it an online payment? Is it an in-store payment? Because it's a physical.
It's blurring.
It's blurring. Yeah.
Okay.
And our role is to make sure we facilitate that.
Which direction it's going, you guys should make sure that you're facilitating.
And that's why typically merchants are coming to us, because they used to build things in silos. They had from a lot of retailers, physical stores. Then they started having online stores. But nothing was interconnected before. What's from a payment perspective, we can really help them out there and remove the lines.
Yeah, maybe to segue into the nothing is connected. You're talking here about payments are just the beginning, and the real power lies in the intelligence.
Yeah.
For an average person, buying coffee or shoes or groceries, what does that intelligence behind the payments look like? How will we experience that?
So, the intelligence is more from maybe a loyalty perspective. If you look at how much money brands typically spend on loyalty to make sure that customers are coming to their store, using their brands, etc., it's a lot of money in marketing. Loyalty program costs a lot of money. It's really difficult to have customer opt-in to your own loyalty program, because as a customer, you interact with so much brands that at the end, you don't want plastic cards from everyone. You don't want app from everyone. So, and where we can help is really, again, if you think about the common denominator many people have, they often use the same payment mean. So you might have different cards, but often in habits, people use often the same payment mean. And a good example, I think we are here in Antwerp. It's if you look at Joe and the Juice, it's one of our global customers. I'm not sure if you're aware about them, but typically they have something amazing, which is if you go to if you have downloaded their app, actually you can order from their app. If you go to a store, automatically, if you pay with the same payment mean as you've used before, they will be able to tell you, "Hey, welcome back," because thanks to the payment data. But thanks to the payment data, when we process payment, we can feed them back saying, "Hey, this customer is
the same guy.
Is the same guy actually." And a good example I can give there is one of our customers in Belgium. It's Kinepolis, for instance. If you buy your ticket in the morning, most probably you will do it from your mobile or via desktop, and you will probably use bank contact, scan the QR codes like most people in Belgium would do. But then in the evening, maybe you will buy popcorn there, and there what's most probably, at least I do it like that, I will pay with Apple Pay. And again, if you remember what I said before, cards, they can work over two different routes. Over bank contact or over Apple Pay, which might use Visa or MasterCard. And actually what we are able to tell the merchant is, hey, look, you see this customer that actually bought the ticket this morning, the card that is now, he paid with bank contact this morning, and now he's paying in your store with Apple Pay. And then that's what intelligence is about. So then
Yeah.
the merchant can connect the dots and say, okay, this customer, and actually they can start to see, okay, what are all these purchases done, and create like a profile, because the whole idea of understanding customer is to at some point make sure they get the greatest experience when they go there, and so this is how they can start using data to make sure their customer gets the best when they come.
Okay, that's very interesting actually, because I never, realized that my payment method could be my unique identifier towards a company that I'm frequenting. Like I thought it would be my email, or that they have to link there, but of course what they ultimately want to know is where I'm spending money, and then they can use that.
Actually, it's one part, and it's feeding their system, because they have your email, of course, and that's like I said. I mean, if you pay online, they might see, hey, he's been at our store or at our venue 10 times. But then if they are not able to connect the dots with what's happened on the grounds in the store, then they are losing a lot. And there we can really help, and that's why a lot of merchants have been moving to Adyen lately.
Because you guys have a lot of cool customers. I mean, you've been name dropping constantly, and I'm all thinking like, is there any company that's not customer? But not to focus on that. Like you've opened up the market here. What was like the turning point where you felt like we're pushing something that people want, and I'm converting companies that like what we're doing? Was there like a deal that you felt like?
Actually, I just mentioned it, and I'm so proud of all the customers we work together with. And I was driving by the AFAS Dome. It's actually one of the customers I went to 10 years ago. They signed recently,
really?
actually.
That's cool.
And so now, if you go to a concert there, all terminals are Adyen, and if you go watch a game at Anderlecht, at Brugge, it's Adyen everywhere there. Tomorrowland's working with us, but I think the deal I just mentioned it that made me realize, okay, the merchants do get it. It was Kinepolis, because it's a while ago already that we worked together, but they really understood, because you need to realize that before working with us. Kinepolis, they used to work with so much different payment companies, because in Belgium they have a terminal provider, in France another one, in Spain another one, in the Netherlands another one. So from a technical perspective, it was different integrations, different way of receiving money. So for their accounting, that was a nightmare. Like a lot of contracts to manage. Every time there is an update being done on the terminal, you need to do. And basically, what we came, then they started doing online. They had a bit the same problem, and I'm not sure how much providers they used to have, but like tens, maybe more. And basically, we explained them, look, you can basically just remove all of this and make one integration with us and make your life way more simple. One way to reconcile your money, so you don't need like 2 or 3 people to have to fix all mistakes, etc. And so, from a operational perspective, that was huge improvement for them. And then there is this whole piece we just discussed, and then how can they leverage better the data to create better experience for their own customers? That was like the second piece.
Okay. I've also noticed or read that you're very passionate about Adyen Giving, like the feature that lets you donate to charity at checkout. Why is that so important to you? Or
so we have so much features at Adyen. We don't like to. Typically, we don't talk about one feature, because then it's. But I'm happy to. But it's just like there's so much. But giving is something. Actually very interesting, and I'm happy that you asked the question, because at first it's not something people really think about, and even when we launched the product, honestly my first reaction was like, okay, that's cool, but I wasn't thinking too much about it. It was not like a reflex to talk about it, and maybe why is it important, I will answer in a second moment, but just to explain what it does. So just imagine you run a company and there is this charity or cause that you would like to contribute somehow. You can ask typically customers if they want to donate something, etc. But as a merchant, if you want to do that, it's pretty complex, because you don't want to scare a customer. You don't want to have them like feel being forced to give something. So from a customer experience, it needs to be great. It needs to be easy, frictionless. And if you don't want, you don't want like everyone to see, okay, I'm not so it needs to be really good. And I think on that we worked a lot. But then the second piece, which is very complex, is more from an accounting perspective, because before we were building that, merchant, they would typically say, okay, there is a 10 euro transaction, and then the customer says, okay, I'm going to give 2 euros, but then the merchant receives 12 euros, but actually only 10 euro is belonging in his accounting to goods he's selling, and then 2 is donation. So from an accounting perspective, it's a nightmare then to. And so what we do at Adyen is that we just make the flow super easy. So basically we say, okay, the customer is giving, is paying 10, is giving 2. Actually, the merchant is going to receive 10, and then the 2 euros are going straight to the coast, basically.
So there's no accounting nightmare.
No, not accounting nightmare. And I think where we want to help as a company is that we also facilitate, so all the costs that are related to the giving part, we take it on us as a company. Nice. This is how we try to help there. And maybe the turning points, because we have many charities, etc., that have been onboarded. But if I look at Belgium, actually 3 or 4 years ago, we had our own event. We tried to do an event per year to have also a quality event like SuperNova. I'm really happy to be here. But and during one of this event, when I think we launched the Adyen Giving, we invited actually a charity from Belgium called Kick Cancer. And there was Delphine Enen, she's the founder from Kick Cancer. And maybe because you asked what is the turning points, basically she came on stage to explain what Kick Cancer was doing, etc. And then she explained how they are struggling as a non-profit to get things moving, etc., and how important for them it was to get the funds, etc. And this is also the moment where I realized, hey, we are so much in our daily work and we just push, etc. And there are these people that are doing amazing things and that are really trying, they're struggling, and for the merchant, for us, it's so easy to help. And so
it's making a difference.
And so this is the moment where I really felt, hey, this is actually technically speaking an amazing product. It's so great and so easy for merchant to do it. And so that's why I'm always asking the team, hey, make sure that in every discussions you have, make sure the merchants are aware about how it works and how easy it can be. So that's
cool. It's very nice that the fact that you take on all the costs of the donation to yourself, and like it makes me reconsider when I get the pop-up, makes me think about it. So it's nice. It's good to know.
And I think that's the point. It's just to make it easy. And again, if people feel like, okay, this is something that speaks to me, it should be easy
as a tap of a button,
and they can just give whatever they want. It can be a couple of cents, could be a couple of euros. Everything is technically possible there.
That's nice. About that topic of frictionlessness, like there's another side of it as well. We talk about tap to pay or contactless payments. As someone who's responsible for facilitating all that, how do you reconcile let's say the dangers or the risks that are accompanied with just tapping and getting money from someone? Is it something that you guys take into account as well, or is it?
Yeah, so maybe it's more like the risk related to fraud, etc. Is that what you mean? Yeah. Of course, this is a big part of our work actually. And you were talking about my kids, etc. So sometimes they were like, "Yeah, I look like, is it like your guardian in the store?" And that's also part of our job and part of the reason why we help our merchant. And especially it's always been something like fraud is a topic which is very complex. It's evolving. Like you need to be on top of it because every 3 months it has totally changed, and we have a huge team of people really focusing on that. Actually, we have, I think there is a session. We have Fouad from he's our head of fraud. He's talking here as well. Cool. So he has so if you're really interested about the topic, I would really advise you to listen to it. But especially with AI coming, etc., it's becoming more and more easy even for fraudsters. So it's really important that you put the right protection because fraud for a merchant, you need to see that as a double or triple sentence because if you're a retailer, you need to buy goods, then so it has a cost. Then you send the goods, and then if you get later what we call a chargeback, so basically a message saying, hey, this was actually a fraud. actually it's a triple sentence. You bought the
Yeah.
products, then the product
Essentially,
you lost it, and
Yeah.
then the money is being
Is even-
taken back.
yeah, so like you're- yeah.
So yeah, and it's super important that you put the right thing in place. And our role is also to help the merchants because we talked a lot about customer experience, is to make sure that all the barriers that you're putting is that it's not gonna block also your legit customers.
Of course,
And
of
so
course.
it's always trying to find the right balance there, and it's a constant exercise. And now with we are in the era of AI, etc. We
Yeah.
use a lot of AI to help us with that and to help our merchants as well, because sometimes it becomes so complex that merchants, they don't know how to do this, and we have a lot of rules. We can just say, hey, look, we know very well your industry, etc. This is how we would advise you to
Okay.
have a look at this.
That was actually going to be my next question, because this is like SuperNova is going about AI, of course.
Yeah.
You hear the word everywhere.
Yeah.
How is it changing what you're doing, and maybe how it impacts the customer as well? Or how do you guys use AI without the buzzwords or the marketing hype?
Yeah, of course. There are three. When it comes to all world, I think there are three different angles to look at it. There is, of course, from the consumer that will pay. How is this going to be? We talk about agentic commerce here, where basically transaction will happen on your behalf. So you will prompt and say, hey,
Yeah.
this is what I want, and at the end you get, okay, these are the choices. Do you want to make the payments? Yes, and then the payment is done on your behalf. It's still very early days here, at least in Europe, because there are some more like regulation constraints. In the US, we see already quite some stuff happening, quite concrete.
Okay.
But we are on top of it. Of course, we talk with all the big players. I'm not gonna enter now. That topic is way too more complex. So that's more like the consumer perspective. For the merchant, it's really important.
Yeah.
And you know, our position is that we are helping our merchant, and the merchant, they are scared about one thing is, hey, is the customer, if an AI decides on behalf of is the customer going to still come to us? So that's their main concern. Hey, how can we make sure that we stay on top if the AI decide and not the customer? So that's their concern, and this is where we also play a role there to help them. And maybe the third angle is maybe what I just explained with fraud, and for even like more basic internal stuff, we use a lot of AI for automations, basically. So yeah,
Okay.
these are the three angles.
Okay, very interesting. Maybe to round up a bit, you're in a world of real-time transactions, financial data, all kind of things that are very high stakes and in real time. How do you personally disconnect or slow down, or to take the time to, you know, shut off the stress from all that real-time data?
Yeah, I think I don't actually.
Oh, okay.
Often I joke about that because I think my weekends with 3 kids at home, etc., are even busier than my week somehow.
Okay.
No,
That
but
way.
but it's fun. What we do is really fun. So even if you have all, you know, this. We are in a world of speed, so indeed that's a bit sometimes where I need to find ways to slow down a bit. But at least we really love what we do, and it's so much fun that at the end it's just part of the what we do, and it's not a big problem, I would say, for me.
Okay. Well, if I can say one thing, it's very clear that you love what you do, which makes this a very interesting conversation. So thank you for being here, Julien.
My
this
pleasure.
was the SuperNova podcast. I hope you have a wonderful day, and good luck with all the talks and all the things you guys are doing here. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thanks a lot again.